All righty, let's get started. Welcome to tonight's show. My name is Alexa. I'm your head of online community here at Housecall Pro, and I want to welcome you to week 10 of us spending every weekday, Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time together. I'm joined by my co-host, Roland. He's the co-founder of Housecall Pro, and Mel, who's our senior vice president of people. We're also joined today by Brooks, who's our COO, and he and I will actually be talking with Shaunna and with Mike today, and I'm going to introduce them in a little bit after Mel's State of the World. But just a reminder again, we come at you live every Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We do the state of the world according to the home service industry, and then we focus on one main topic or guest. Tonight, we're really lucky to have two guests. The last time we did a pro panel, it went over so well and so much knowledge was shared, and we were due for one. So I'm really, really excited to welcome Shaunna and Mike onto our pro panel. I reached out to these two pros specifically because I've noticed them doing a lot of innovative things and seeing success with certain business and marketing strategies just by their posts and their comments in our coronavirus Facebook group. And if you're not in that yet, I'll post a link there for you to join. So over to you, Mel, for our State of the World. After that, we'll get into our pro panel with Shaunna and Mike.
Great, thank you, and good evening. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Melina Fairley, Senior Vice President of People here at Housecall Pro, and I guess this is week 10 of us coming to you live from our living rooms and kitchen tables, Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So I give you a daily recap of what's going on in the news related to coronavirus, and then we bring you great guests and inspiration and a sense of community. So let's dive into your evening update for Monday, May 18th, 2020. So looking at the Johns Hopkins dashboard, we're looking at 4.7 million global cases, almost at 4.8 there, as you can see, and over 318,000 deaths globally, with almost 1.8 million recovered. So that's the green number. We like the green. And here in the US, we are at over 1.5 million confirmed cases and over 90,000 deaths with over 280,000 recovered. So a couple of shifts globally. Brazil is now number 4 in the world in terms of total cases. Peru has surpassed China over the weekend to reach number 12 in the world. And the epidemics in Canada, Singapore, Sweden, and here in the United States appear to be slowing. So that's good news. We're starting to see things open up. Italy is allowing most businesses to reopen with social distancing measures in place, including the higher risk settings such as bars, hairdressers, and churches. So that's something that we can look to see from countries that have had incidences and occurrences ahead of us. So here in the US, I hope you all know that Memorial Day is this weekend approaching. So lots of states are continuing to announce and implement plans to relax social distancing. So last week we heard from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware. Those 4 states are going to begin opening some beaches in time for the Memorial Day holiday weekend. In Massachusetts, the governor is expected to announce steps to relax statewide social distancing there. Massachusetts had been hit fairly hard at the beginning of the epidemic. And Kentucky is scheduled to lift its travel ban and reopen most state parks this weekend ahead of Memorial Day. Minnesota is also set to begin resuming operations at non-essential businesses and state parks this week. Roland, you had the trades?
Yeah, all right. So we have this trades health index. This is updated weekly here. What you see here are a couple things, a trailing and a leading indicator. This is how many average scheduled jobs there are per week and how many are completed. So you have a leading and a trailing. Blue is 2019, red is 2020. And so as you can see here across all, you can definitely see this uptick. We're not quite where we were in 2019 yet, but we're not too far below. So that is definitely a good sign. If you guys want to take a look here, you can also see it by different industries as well as different states. So if you want to zoom in and say, hey, how are we looking for HVAC in California? You can do that, and it's customized. Well, we got a crazy spike there. Then also, if you go down here furthermore, you can see average canceled jobs, and you can also see it since week 6. Is it good or bad in your particular industry, in your particular state? So super helpful information. We'll post a link here. You guys can check it out.
And there have also been some recent updates relevant to the discussion tonight. So Roland and I thought we'd go through a quick update on the PPP and EIDL for you all. So on May 13th, the Department of Treasury issued an update about what businesses can expect regarding the enforcement and the repayment of PPP loans. So two things that have an impact to home services companies. One is that seasonal businesses that were approved for PPP loans can apply for more money. So you can go back a second time and apply for more money if you're a seasonal business. And the second, and I think Roland will tell you a little more about this, is that businesses with loans under $2 million will not need to prove financial hardship.
Yeah, this is really important, guys, because if you applied for it and it's under $2 million, you don't have to prove that it was COVID that negatively impacted your business. The government is going to take it as given. So the nice thing about this is if you feel like you didn't want to have the government like looking into what you're doing or you're spending these things, this makes it a little easier for you. You can kind of let that kind of rest. Apply for the loans. If you're doing under 2 million, it's not going to get investigated. Now, on the flip side, if you are over 2 million, for bigger businesses, they are going to make sure they're reviewing all the loans. And the reason why is because this was built for small businesses. And if you're doing more than 2 million, you know, you're definitely taking away from a smaller business who could have used it much better. So that was kind of the intent, obviously the intent of the CARES Act in both round 1 and round 2. So if you have not, there is still money available from the second round. So as of May 6th, there was about $90 billion remaining. And the reason why is some of these bigger companies, they returned some of that money. Obviously, you probably caught it in the news. And so those were returned. There's some extra money in there. Obviously, we've heard this in the Facebook group. We've heard this in other places too, but you're going to have a lot better luck receiving the loan if you apply through your smaller community bank, maybe your credit union, someone that you can develop a relationship with, as opposed to a large national bank who have also been in the news for not making it really easy for small businesses. So if you haven't done it, now is the time. There's still some money left in round 2. Go for it. We've been talking about this now for weeks. Because it's under $2 million for most of you guys, you don't even have to worry about it being looked at. So we've heard a lot of other questions, Mel. I think the biggest one here is, do I have to use at least 75% of the PPP loan on payroll?
Yeah, so
what's the state of that?
The intent of the PPP program was to keep workers on payroll and off of unemployment. So there are business groups lobbying to reduce that percentage used on payroll to 50%, but we can't count on a change, so we should assume the status quo. So for complete forgiveness, ensuring that you're using at least 75% of the funds on payroll is the way to go.
Yeah, and a quick thing too, if you end up doing 50%, that means 50% will be forgivable. That other 25% that maybe you spent for something else that's questionable, you'll have to repay that. But it still gives you a little bit of flexibility there. So it's not an all or nothing kind of a clause, which is important to note. So don't freak out too much about that.
Mel, just to clarify that, when do you have to use the funds by? Is there a term date at the end of it?
As far as the forgiveness period that they're going to look at, they're looking at the 8 weeks after your receipt of the funds to spend that money on payroll. The goal is to get people off of unemployment and back to work. And this is where there's debate, because businesses are saying, look, in my state, I wasn't even allowed to be in business. So how could I possibly bring people back to work when there is no work? So that's why there is lobbying to extend that time. There's lobbying to reduce that percentage, but this is where we are today.
Yep. So the second most highly rated question here is, obviously a lot of you guys might have laid off workers. Do you have to rehire the same employee that you laid off in order to meet the payroll requirement, or no?
So that answer is no. Your bank is not going to check to see if you hired the same employee back, just simply that your payroll amount is the same or greater than the 2019 average that you used in your application. So whatever amount you spent that you let them know was your payroll spend that the loan was based off of, they're looking for you to spend that on employees, but not names and social security numbers of individuals.
And I know a lot of our pros maybe have pivoted or changed their business model around a little bit as well. Do they need to hire the exact same positions or keep the employees in those same jobs as they were previously in?
Right. No, again, your lender is going to be looking at the amount you spend on payroll, not who fills what job. So if you don't need as many salespeople, but you need more techs or vice versa, or you're doing some completely different type of work these days, you just have to hire the people as full-time employees and not contractors in order to count that payroll towards forgiveness.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about, what if the funds for the payroll, rent, utilities, or interest payments, what if you don't use them? for those reasons.
Yeah. Again, there are many groups lobbying to change the allocations for how the funds should be used, but it's safest to assume that those rules aren't going to change. So when you apply as a borrower, you're certifying on the loan application that you'll use this for the reasons that it was created, for rent, utilities, interest, but mostly payroll, 75% on payroll. So the other 25 is the rent, utilities, and interest. So if you don't use the funds accordingly, it will raise questions from your lender and potentially from the SBA and Treasury as well, something that clearly you would want to avoid.
Yep. So let's talk lastly about just the EIDL, the economic injury disaster loans. What about them? What's changed there?
Yeah, so they are still processing applications that have been received, but they announced on May 4th that they are not accepting any new applications for the economic injury disaster loans except from agricultural companies. So if you've got your application in, I think I saw in the chat, someone has their application in, they're still waiting. Hang tight, they are still looking at those, but they are not accepting any new applications outside of agriculture. And we also, at the beginning, all heard that there was a grant portion of this that was $10,000 per company, which many of you learned from seeing your direct deposits that it ended up being $1,000 per employee up to 10 employees. So if you had 10 or more employees, you got the $10,000 grant. If you only had 5 employees, you got a $5,000 grant. So that's something that we've learned since this was originally out. But again, you can still apply for PPP, but EIDL, unless you're in agriculture, those applications, what they've received is what they're working on.
Yep.
A follow-up question for there, just to clarify. So let's say a pro needs to use their PPP to repair their service vehicle. That will be allowed as long as they have spent 75% of it on employee payroll.
It's for rent, utilities, interest payments, and payroll. So you'd have to go back to the details to see if it fits in one of those, but it's potential that that portion would just turn into a loan and not be forgiven.
Okay.
Yep. And if you had the EIDL, you could spend some of that money towards it because it definitely goes to your OPEX because you need it to run your business. Mel, what about the terms in which it needs to be repaid on the EIDL side of things?
Yeah, the EIDL loan must be repaid over 30 years at 3.75% interest for businesses with a 1-year deferment on that first payment. So it is a very long-term loan and a low interest rate.
Yeah, it's almost like a mortgage. It's close to those rates. Actually, mortgage rates are lower than that now. But yeah, close to that. Obviously, just barely above inflation. So definitely a very forgiving loan in terms of interest rates. So always make use of that if you have that. I think anybody can beat that from a return perspective. All right, on to you, Alexa.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Roland. And Roland, can you please post a link to the trade health index?
Yes.
That would be
posted.
awesome. So
right
we
now.
have updated all of the blog posts that we've made on this over the last 10 weeks. Every time we get new information, we update it. So I will post the link to the PPP and the EIDL articles that we have been updating since week 1 of this, which is now over 2 months ago. So I will put that in there. And Mel, Roland, thank you for the State of the World News update. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Okay. So that was a lot of information, but it was necessary to do a review before we jump into this next section. So I want to briefly talk about what we're going to be doing tonight with our pro panel with Shaunna and Mike. So they have graciously come on our show tonight because I've seen that they're doing really, really great things in their business. And the whole point of this broadcast is to encourage you to be innovative, to encourage you to try things that may be out of your comfort zone. So we're sitting them down tonight to hear what is working for them, what is not working for them, what have they learned that you can avoid doing in your own business, and really just hopefully inspire you and give you some ideas of what to set out and do. This is the second time we've done this, but it's been I was looking back in our notes, Brooks, it's been about a month since we've had real pros on here. We've had some awesome guests, but you guys are our star guests at the end of the day. So I just want to do a quick little intro for the two of them. So Shaunna is the co-owner of Airtex Heating and Cooling in Lubbock, Texas. So I think they have 5 people in their company. Shaunna, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's like all-star, super pro, lady pro, pro leader, anything that we put out there, Shaunna is and exemplifies it all. So you guys probably actually recognize her name, and you also probably recognize Mr. Mike Flowers. So he's the owner of M&M Handyman Services. He's in Louisiana. What city are you in again, Mike?
Maurice. We serve the Lafayette area, though.
The Lafayette area. So Mike has been in business since December of 1999 or 1998. So he has a wealth of knowledge, and he is also super pro. He's very active in our online communities, and our videographer, JC, actually did a really, really great podcast episode with him. So I will link that in our chat if you feel like listening to it. It's really inspiring and also very informative. Briefly take us through the timeline of your business experience from the start of COVID. Like, what was happening before, what happened to you at the start, and what have the last 2 months kind of looked like for you up until now? Just a brief overview, because we're going to get into the last two sections.
Gotcha. First, I need to say a couple things as a qualifier. Number one, I am a poser. Most of what I have learned, I've learned from Housecall Pros in this event. The other thing is I am not necessarily the sharpest crayon in the box. You know, I usually learn by pain, by making mistakes. So, but shout out to Housecall Pros. You know, you guys have really, through your teachings and the things you offer, have really brought my business to a place I never thought I would get. And I am really excited about the future. We started in 1998, December 98. It's a long story, but basically I was scared. I went out on my own, and I stayed on my own until probably 2014. And I was happy with it. I didn't want to get big, just working by myself. I'd come home, hang up my hammer. I was through, peaceful. 2014, the oil field kind of tanked over here. I had 2 sons and a son-in-law get laid off. So now they needed work because there's nothing out there. So I brought them on, and then that's when, you know, you bring on more help, you got to have more work. And then it got to the point to where I was just going nuts. And if you watch the podcast, look, I'm a big baby, but the story is true. Housecall Pros changed my business. The business has been great. Month over month, increase, just blowing and going. Pre-COVID, that's where I was. Getting into COVID, you know, whether you believe in this stuff, the virus and all, it don't matter. It has affected our business. So that's what I had to deal with. And really, you guys started this podcast, and it has brought me a peace of mind. And I'm telling you, I went through some stuff. We'll talk about that later. It looks like the topics are going to come up here in a little bit. But I am so pumped for the future of M&M Services and those people that, you know, I like to tell people, how do you succeed? Housecall Pros. First thing you do, call Alexa, be a super pro. Work is going to happen. So, and they're not paying me for this. This is real life stuff, okay? So I am pumped with the future. We'll get into some more stuff. I'm just going to shut up because I can ramble on forever.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. Shaunna, I'll come right to you 1 second. Mike, I want to, you said your boys went through a tough time, 2014, I think you said, and that's who you decided to bring them on. That couldn't have been, if they were losing their jobs, it must have been a tough environment for you to operate in back then. So you've been through adversity before. Yeah. Did that help you this time?
Well, diversity this time is totally different. I survived last time.
Okay.
But implementing the stuff you guys talked about, I'm thriving. Okay. I've got half my staff, more money in the bank, excited about the future, not worried about tomorrow, just trying to plan for growth. And I know it's coming. You know, I'm just pumped.
Oh,
outstanding. Awesome. Okay. There's so much to unpack there. I can't wait to come back and ask you questions. But Shaunna, you're welcome back from West Texas.
So yeah, we, in West Texas, you're watching as this thing's like literally like closing in on you. And so I run the business with my husband, and we've got kids, and so the changes were not just business, family, life, school, all these things. And I say, I wanted to mention these things because I know there's a lot of lady pros in here. And so it's not just our businesses that have changed from all of this and that we've had to acclimate and adjust to through this whole process. But as far as the business goes, we were coming off a really slow winter. We had our 70-day degree weather all through the winter, and we're a fairly new company. We started like in 2012 part-time, and then a lot of people kind of can relate to that, and they'll go full-time a few years later. So we're really looking at 3 years in business. And so this is, rocked our worlds a little bit, but we implemented Housecall Pro last year, and that's completely changed the way we've done business for the last year. And I think it set the foundation. I don't know where we would be without that, to be honest, because we were so organized and we were just set in place. And then we did pursue the PPP loan, and I think we'll talk more about that. But I've been watching, you guys do a lot of videos. I can't watch them all, but I get bits and pieces and nuggets, and I know we're going to talk about those. And it's just invaluable. And being a pro leader, I've developed relationships in the community. So we're really like working together and referring each other and supporting each other.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to commend both of you, Mike and Shaunna, and actually a lot of pros watching. You guys run businesses, you have families, and you're still very, very active in the community, but I can't help but think that your activity in there and your engagement contributes to the way that you receive and accept new ideas and implement them into your business. Because I've been working with both of you since you guys started with Housecall Pro, and I've seen an evolution, especially with you, Mike. I remember the first time I met you, you were not very happy with us. And now look at you, just thrive. I love to hear that you're thriving. I love to hear that you are making the most of a bad situation, but that's the point of us meeting right now. So I'm really excited to pick your guys' brain, hear what you've been doing, and what advice you would give to our pros. So Brooks, I know you probably have a bunch of questions already in your head. Why don't you start it?
Well, one thing I want to just kind of tack onto your statement there, Alexa, is that what I love about both of you, and I hear this in the meetups. I attend a lot of the meetups, and I'll moderate some of those, and the vertical specific ones, which are across the country. And you both are incredibly positive. Like you have this positive energy, this positive force towards getting to thriving, towards getting to your vision for something. Like, it is such an intangible thing, yet it's also so incredibly powerful. Because think about it, you guys are leaders. You are CEOs of your companies. You are leading your teams, your family, your community. I really appreciate all of that positive energy. I think positive begets more of the same. So you guys are just kind of working the right way. Like, we've been talking about this as a 100-mile race. It sounds like both of you guys are well past the halfway mark and on your path to thriving. Or Mike, you may already be there. Is that the case?
No, I still think I'm at infancy.
Okay.
I have much bigger visions in mind. So
I love to hear
that. I'm a little guy still, but things are getting put in place that are going to take me where the vision is. So
excellent.
Let's start with what Mel and Roland were sharing with us, and the thing that is always on everyone's mind, the SBA loans, the EIDL advance, and the PPP. So did you apply for the SBA loans, and how have you used those respective funds if you have received them? Let's start with you.
Okay. So I think something that all the pros can learn from this experience, if you did struggle getting the PPP loan or any of the other loans, is how important it is to develop a relationship with your banker. We, over the last couple of years, have been able to develop an amazing relationship. We go to lunch with our banker on occasion just to catch up and just to see where we're at. And so when the PPP loan came out, he immediately calls us and says, our bank is, we're pumped, we're ready, we're getting everything in line. I immediately called. And again, here too, another recommendation. We have an accountant, but we also have a bookkeeper. And even though we're only a 5-person business, we're not all good at everything. I am not an accountant. I am not a bookkeeper. It's not what I excel in. So the biggest advice I could give in regard to that is to position yourself to outsource these things that you're not excellent at, right? And because of those two things, that's why I'm mentioning these, is because I called my bookkeeper. She had already done the research. She immediately put my package together, sent it along with my CC'd myself along with the email to my banker. We sent that in I started talking to them on Friday, sent it in on Monday, and we were funded on Tuesday. And so Amazing. The value of that, the stress of that was so minimal.
Maybe it's my internet. I'm froze up.
It was done. It was done in just a few days. And I know not everybody has that story, and I'm not trying to discount what people have gone through, because it is really hard. And we were very blessed. We're very thankful for that relationship. But it is something to learn going forward. And I'm sorry for people who have struggled through it.
Well, those little things can add up, right, Shaunna? Like, it sounds like you made a strategic or a fortunate choice to invest in a relationship, not knowing if it would pay benefits or not. But sure enough, when you needed it, you had the banker, you had your bookkeeper in your corner, and you can move quickly. And I imagine there must be an enormous amount of relief when you're not worried and concerned about, will that process work? You could go back to focus on, how do I get back to thriving? How did that work out for you? Is that how it paid out for you?
Well, we had put hiring, were in the midst of hiring some people, and we had to put that on hold because literally the phone stopped ringing for probably 3 weeks. Wow. And so we were like, what in the world are we going to do? And it's in the middle of March, and it's usually a quieter time in this area of the world. And it's just a little quieter because it's beautiful. And, but then all this happened and it just stopped. And so we said, okay, we're going to hold off on hiring this position. They were currently still employed. So we thought, please hold on. We'll see what happens. But the day we got the PPP loan, we were on the phone and said, okay, let's, go ahead and put your 2 weeks notice in or whatever. Let's get this process started. So that's what that enabled us to do, is just go ahead and say, okay, guys, y'all can work. We don't need to cut hours. Y'all are all full force. We'd already set into place our PPE, right? All of our, our what we were doing to go into people's home and so how we were addressing that. So we could just go. And that's what because I noticed in the forum and all the people asking about. I could just feel the stress from folks desperately waiting for that money to come in, and it was a huge relief for sure.
Their whole world has been turned upside down. The world is full of uncertainty. There's this plague on shore, and it's just wiping its way through the country. Mm-hmm. There's so much angst and pain and concern in that. You were just incredibly, I'll use your word, blessed to go and get that funding. You set yourself up for success. You were intentional about it, yet you had that blessing, got the money, and then you could go focus on getting back to the path you want to be on. That's a wonderful story arc. Mike, how did it play out for you? Tell us about how the world turns upside down, then what happened, and how did the funding process go for you?
Oh, let me unmute.
That's me. I got to hit the button, right?
There you go.
First, I didn't turn on the speaker, and I told you I wasn't the sharpest crayon in the box. Okay. The governor declared a stay-at-home order. One thing about the guys I have working for me, I find, and I don't, I'm not meaning to be offensive, but people that have OCD to some degree tend to be great employees because they're perfectionists. They really have to have things. So, downside, they're scaredy cats. So they will not work to a large degree. So I was faced with out of 6 field techs, 4 were not going to work. And then one of them's wife ran a fever, so he couldn't work because we had to quarantine him. It wasn't COVID, but it was, I think it was a flu or something. But, he was quarantined. So obviously the phone slowed down a lot, but I still had people that wanted to get stuff done. And I really, I was at a loss. But in the early stages, you guys came on and said, hey, I think you even gave me a checklist. I took that and kind of modified it to my business. But when they would call, I'd qualify the customer. We sounded like we had our stuff together, and I didn't have a clue. So we used that. I think it was Brooke that came on and said, hey, look at your expenses. Now's the time to turn it down. Look at everything and bring it down. So I did that. I don't have anybody working, one guy, two guys, sometimes now I'm up to three. And the phone's not ringing as much, but it's still ringing. Good. So we really sharpened our expenditures. And because I track job cost and profitability, what each job's average value is and stuff, I started thinking, okay, I have limited resources. So first thing I have to do is do the things that are going to bring me the most return. So I started isolating or picking off the things that I knew the margins weren't superior on.
So smart.
Then I took those things and I said, you know what? If I'm going to work, if I'm going to put my people in this, I'm going up. So we increased our prices 10 to 15, sometimes even 20%. I said, if I'm going to work, it's got to be worth it. We still got jobs. Just a rough idea. March last year, 58 jobs, $380 average. This year, 22 jobs, $617 average.
Oh my gosh, almost 2x.
April, 52 jobs, $584. April, 9 jobs, $1,813, $1,813. Triple what I did per job.
So Mike, what's going on there? How could you raise your prices? Is it because you've been underselling your price in the past, or was it that you were this trusted voice? Like what was the secret to that success?
Well, here's the thing that paid off the most. First off, Brooke, was I knew my margins on what we did. Somebody calls and needs a talk. We do everything. We picked up a domain called Book a Handyman Now. Fits right in with my online booking. And that is for your quick calls. The margins are pretty good, but they're really not where they need to be. They're probably anywhere from 50 to 65. Okay. And just knowing where, like glass replacement, window installs, fascia and soffit is great margins for me. So those are the things I've kind of isolated on, the things that are going to utilize what I have the most and bring the most return for the limited resources I have. Another thing is, okay, I had a field foreman and 5 guys in the field. Well, now I've got 2 guys in the field foreman working for me. Yeah, I still have 3 that aren't. But what I did is they're all working together, okay? So they go to one job, the field foreman's right there, he's getting maximum productivity, so we're in and out on the jobs in a much quicker turn. Labor cost is down based on that. So those are kind of the things that have really increased the margins for my company. So I increased and I selected the jobs that I knew I could do better on.
So in the future, what have you learned now and how will you apply that to the future? Is that a permanent change or something else for you? Is that just something in this moment?
I don't think I can leave it permanent, Brooke, because those quick handyman jobs, when I do a return, I don't know the terminology, but customer retention, I get it. They try me out on the small stuff, and then boom, boom, bigger and bigger. So I get the other things. So we're going to do that, but I'm just not doing it today. And there are some customers I will do it for, but as far as for new customers, I apologize. Just tell them we're real. Normally in my handyman business, if you called me today, I could probably have on a quick job, a 1-2 hour job, I could probably have a guy there tomorrow afternoon, So that was how I was trying to thrive on the right now, the book handyman thing. So I've kind of, that section, because it's not as profitable in dollars today, I've kind of pushed it off, and I tell them, look, I'm sorry, we're normally the go-to people. You know, we can do that, but I just don't have the staff. And they usually understand, you know, so.
Got it. All right, so you used selective pricing and pricing power to increase your margin and your average ticket size, and now you're able to keep the 3 people running fast and really profitable, and that's got to be a godsend. So, Shaunna, how about you? Tell me one thing tell Alexa and I, one thing that's really stood out that maybe you innovated or adopted or changed in the post-COVID-19 world.
Okay, so for us, being an HVAC, financing has become a big thing, you know, of course, because you're looking at anywhere from a $6,000, $10,000, you know, these are big ticket items that people don't just have these funds sitting somewhere just to write a check for. But we've noticed in the last 2 weeks, or last 2 months, pardon me, and I told my husband this when this first started happening in March, I said, things are going to change a whole lot. And I have a feeling in financing, that's kind of my background anyway, but and then we just saw it one thing after the other. Each of the companies that we've partnered with to offer that financing, they were just tightening their belts, and tightening their belts. And so we've had more and more individuals get declined. And that's, you know, we're a relationship-based company. We're all about relationships. Like you were talking about, we want to go do those small things. We want to develop that relationship. It may be a smaller ticket item now, but it's going to turn into a bigger ticket later because they've already developed that relationship with us. And so to go and not be able to provide the service that we would love to, I mean, it's already been 100 degrees here several days. And if your HVAC is out, what we want to do is fix it. We want to replace it. We want you to be happy. And we don't want any sort of negativity toward our company, even though it's not our responsibility, a person's finances or how that may go about. So one of the things that we've implemented are more financing options for, I don't know if you call riskier customers, but they are, I guess, or just and people have just gone through different things in their life. It's not that they weren't handling their finances necessarily well. I mean, there's just a lot of circumstances that happen, and we really feel for these customers, and we want to do something for these customers. And so diversifying our financing is something we've put into place to help them.
Smart.
Yeah, and one of the things, I mean, this is kind of something we started a few years ago. We actually have portable AC units that we provide our customers with. So like one of our guarantees is we will get you cool today because it's miserable. We don't want you to have to pick up your family and go to a hotel, and you can't right now. You can't go to your mother-in-law's house or your father's house or whoever's house to even spend the night now. And so what are you going to do when you're stuck? So a few years ago, we implemented that. And so we just go and take them portable AC units, and then let's figure it out. You can go talk to your banker. You can get some financing some way or another. And so at least until then, we're taking care of you. So
that is the first time I've heard about that. That is so incredibly genius. I hope every single HVAC pro here has picked that up. And if
it's trademarked. It's trademarked in Lubbock anyway. I'm just kidding. No.
I am yes. And if you are not in HVAC, I guarantee you there is something in your own industry that you can do and provide your customer with, even if you are not able to provide them with that service on the spot, even if you can't install a brand new unit. Shaunna, I'm curious, how much does that cost you in the grand scheme of things?
You know, I don't know. We do look at it, of course, but it's more important for our customer to be satisfied and happy and comfortable. I mean, gosh, if it's an old person or somebody who has a brand new or new baby, we're just like, who cares how much it costs? You know, but we've invested in, I think we have 14 now of the portable AC units, and we keep them in a stored area centrally located. So for about 250,000 people here, you can get pretty much anywhere in about 15 minutes. So it's different dynamics here. And so we just feel like we try to keep them on the trucks as much as we can, and keep a spreadsheet of where they're at and whatnot. We have not put the dollar amount on them, but we know they ultimately result in a customer who is ours for life.
No doubt.
Does that mean, I don't know if there's a value that you put on that, because
Well,
Yeah,
it's a lifetime value, right? You created a relationship that may even span generations, right? Because if not only that family, their kids are there too, they're going to remember like you guys were a savior. Here we are miserable.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all an emotion. You're wrong with this emotion. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't take care of my family. They're going to be hot. My wife's been mad at me for 12 years, right? And suddenly you come in and you're like this saving grace. You say, no, I can set you up to be successful. All your family's going to be taken care of. Let's focus on then making the right decision for your house for the next year, 5, 10 years. That is
absolutely.
Amazing.
I've considered charging for it, or like, you know, if you're going to keep it for a certain amount of time, but we really just don't get there. You know, I mean, they're anywhere from $400 to $600 each. You know, we've got about a dozen of them. We buy them from Costco. Costco has an amazing return policy if something happens to them. I mean, no, they really do. We're not taking advantage of that, but if anybody's looking to get those, Costco is a great place to get them. And then we just use them. I mean, we really don't think about it. We just tell our guys, go get one, go take care of the customer.
I told you I was the poser. She's the real deal.
For real.
I just mimic what you guys tell me. She's the real deal. That's awesome.
Well,
it's who we are. Like my husband and I is who we are. Like, what would we want someone to do for us? And that's kind of how we approach things we do in our business.
You know what? I hear something there, Shaunna, that I hear this a lot in the meetups of really great pros, and they obsess around the customer experience. We want to create this lifetime relationship. You obsess around the customer experience. So many pros, when they just get started out, they think it's all about the work. And I can tell you, like, you know, it's about a feeling. It's not about the work, right? I can't tell you, like, the air goes on, it doesn't go on. That's about all I can tell you. My wife's probably much different than that. Yet I know exactly how it feels to work with you, your family, your company, and so on in that circumstance, and that's where the relationship is created. So you're really playing, what I hear in that is you're playing to, we obsess around the customer, we take care of our customer no matter what, and then we also do things like, hey, I know my customer might be having a hard time right now. I'm going to be innovative and go find other ways to help them finance what they need so they can get that air conditioning unit installed. I mean, those two things combined, that's got to be a huge game changer for you. But it's all about care, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's from the moment that you answer the phone. I mean, that's where the relationship starts. And you know, and then software, you know, throw in a plug. No, it's true. And it just extends the communication. So
the other thing I hear about, or that I think of when you're saying that, Shaunna, is like, that is like the core of what builds community. Every one of these webcasts, we're always saying, like, give back to your community, forge those bonds. And we see a lot of posting, like, how do I do that? Like, what better way? Like, that's an incredible idea. I hope all of you take that little golden nugget with you. So I want to move on because I want to be respectful of your guys' time, and I do want to be able to ask some questions from our audience at the end. But what has changed for you? What have you been doing differently, either in terms of marketing or in terms of operations? So you can choose both or one or the other. Mike, why don't we start with you? I got to unmute him.
Hold on, I got to sharpen my crayon. Okay. In this learning thing of really seeing how the more profitable jobs have a better return, right? And certain things have more return than others. I researched a couple of new products that that I've already gotten dealerships for. Retractable awnings is one. There's an excellent margin in retractable awnings. Quick install time, 2 hours. We can install them. Retractable screens of all type, whether it be solar shades or whatever. You see them on commercial buildings. A lot of restaurants have these outside things, and they like to roll down the vinyl windows and stuff, and they can even cool them. They can have the pergola. We have the rollover roofs on them and stuff. So we picked up these lines of products, and the margins in them is superior. So that was one. That's what I've been focusing on in my idle time. So we picked up a couple of different brands, and so what? This all goes together with the PPP and all that stuff. Now, I did not go after the PPP, and there's a reason why. and whether it's wise or stupid, sharp as crayon thing. When I hired people, me being the guy that, hey, I want them to learn from me and then go out and be their own businessman, right? So I gave them the choice. I can bring you on payroll. I'll pay you taxes, blah, blah, blah. Or you can be a 1099 person. What does that mean? I said, I'm going to help you with your taxes. You're going to get deductions because I don't have vehicles. My employees use their own vehicles, right? It's more of a construction model, but we'll get into that here in a second. So they have their own mileage and stuff. Now, I do give them some gas money based on driving over 30 miles a day, but all that. But basically, they were 1099 employees, not W-2 employees. And I think some of this stuff here has really made me rethink that process, and I'm going to go the other way. Any new hires will be brought into the W-2 format. I had a discussion with my guys about this. Most of them want to stay 1099. I'm still personally debating whether or not I want to let them stay that, or because I'm going to have to take, obviously, if I'm paying you $20 an hour, I do pay their workman's comp, but now I've got taxes and other things. So, and I was looking at it. It's really going to be worth it in this new model of business that I'm trying to take after. So I think I'm going to convince them, let me bring you in as an employee. I won't cut your pay because I'm paying your taxes. It's going to be like a bonus to you. I'm going to pay your taxes, and it's going to reduce your tax burden. So
what was interesting there, Mike, what I heard is that you've taken your business, you've increased your ticket charge to at least have good revenue flowing through with fewer jobs. And then the second thing, you went to a horizontal extension. You moved to an adjacent opportunity, which is, look, I can go do many things in the home, and I can also offer this new product line, which has good margin in it too. And that's a theme that Alexa and I and Roland, I know, have heard over and over again. These meetups is, again, like necessity is the mother of invention. And when you got to hustle and get gritty again, like you did in the early days, you realize, okay, look, I mean, I can do really well right here, but there's other money that's right outside here. And if I could just extend that a little bit ways, the trust I have with that customer, I can bring this other piece into it and make some good money there. That's good for the customer, good for me.
It all fits. It all fits in that same, I'm taking care of your house or your commercial property. Yeah, that
love it.
So I did file for the EIDL, and me being the only true employee, I got $1,000. But I did get approved for a loan, and the loan approval was, first off, the only thing I owe for is my house, and it's getting close to getting paid off. So I don't like debt. There was a time in my past that debt bit me like a bad snake, especially in Louisiana with the up and down oil field. So I try not to do debt. So I've been wanting to get some vans and wrap them. You know, I think that's really going to bring me to another level. I mean, I see it all over Facebook groups and stuff, and you guys are always talking about it. So I went ahead and just actually last night, I had 30 days to sign for it. So last night I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I brought it way down to $50,000 is all I'm going to borrow. And I'm going to put that in an account, and it's going to sit, okay? I am going to take and buy 2 vans and wrap them, okay? So I'm not buying brand new out the door vans. I've got 2 I'm looking at right now, wrapped and everything. I'm probably going to be into them for maybe 18, and they don't, I mean, 5 miles to me is 300,000. So these have about 80,000 on them. So somewhere 80, 90,000 miles. So to me, I'll make them go a lot longer, but they're clean looking. They've got what we need in them. I do have to wrap them. So I'm going to get 2 vans wrapped, which I was always nervous about doing, you know, at a cheaper rate buying used because of the SBA law. I get that breathing room because I got 30 years to pay. Now, obviously, I don't want to be in debt for 30 years, so we'll get aggressive with that based on what my plan is to take a new note price and pay the new note on 2 vans into the loan. I pay it off earlier, but then it gives me the understanding that, hey, you can afford brand new vans, wrapping them one a year or whatever, you know. So that's kind of the step I was taking with the finances. Not only that, I have the rest of the money that'll stay in that account, and I pulled the trigger on what I consider some serious marketing. I just committed to $36,000 worth of marketing for the year. It's going to be SEM marketing, some Facebook. But the main thing is I get some print ads out of it. I get at least one ad in the paper every day. Every now and then for space filling, they'll even throw in a full page ad. Now on that stuff, I do have to pay a percentage of the sale, and there's tracking on it and stuff. But that was stuff I was always, you know, committing to 36 grand. It's like, oh man, you know, so I think it's giving me the confidence to take the next step, blow out this marketing, come in with these new products, and get the higher margin stuff going, and then that's going to turn around. And then after that, I'm looking for a storefront with some nice logos, and you know, I want to be Main Street Lafayette, you know. So that's kind of that's where we hit it.
I can't wait to see that day, and we'll end this asking you guys what's next for you. But Shaunna, you, I feel like, are just trying new things, posting things all the time. You're someone who's very active both on your personal Facebook and your business Facebook. So I'm really curious to know, what have you been doing differently over the last 2 months, whether that is in your operations or marketing, that has really been a game changer for you?
So
without her, I would fail.
Hi, Facebook land, and
I'm the brawn and she's the brains.
Oh my gosh, I love you guys, the Browns.
Yeah. I'm not blushing now. So, I've been watching and taking nuggets. Like, one of the things early on was just saying, we're open. So I went, we tried it a million years ago. I don't know if anybody remembers this book called Guerrilla Marketing. Or maybe it's still relevant, but doing things that don't cost us a lot of money, because going back to what you guys said earlier, I went through and I said, okay, what can we pare back? What are we, because it's so easy to be spending extra and not really looking at that when you're busy. And so we went back and we just tried it. I mean, in just a day or two, we knocked, Sean Patton, he's one of the other pros. We're kind of buddies from far away, so we share ideas sometimes. And he was like, man, I knocked off $1,200 a month just by going through, I have this downtime. Let's go through and let's figure this out, or something like that. And so we did the same thing, and we knocked that down. So that was one of the things we put into place. But my point is taking like nuggets from each of the daily things from the groups, and just being present on social media, making sure that people, and I'll post on our business page, and then I go and I share that on my personal page so that people in the community know what we're doing, from either personally or through our Facebook page. And then you guys on one of the broadcasts said, go do something new with your social media, right? I can't remember always where I see all these things, whether it's you guys or one of our meetups, like our, but I pick stuff out there. Yeah. And so I started doing more on Instagram. So we're doing more on Instagram and just having that presence. And so we feel like Facebook is probably better for pros, because there's just that, I feel like that dynamic, or the age, not that we would leave Instagram out because you can combine the both, but people are making decisions. I see more of that on Facebook. We have a lot of recommendation pages where people will tag your business in those. So I've gotten really active in those local recommendation pages, and I recommend other pros, and we kind of scratch each other's back. If somebody says, hey man, AC's out, who would you recommend? And you hear tag, AirTex. That's pretty nice when it's like 7 people tagging you in one post. So we've just been active there. Same thing on our Google business page. You can do posts on there as well. And so we posted, that we're open. Here's what we're doing as far as precautions in regard to COVID. And I've had a ton, and they'll send you those analytics and see how many people are looking. I was shocked at how many people look at those. So I've started doing more of those posts on a regular basis because we were losing traction Google-wise because they were holding all of our reviews for like 8 weeks. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. And so those popped up this last week, and that was like Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was fun. That's really just, being aware, trying to do the little things to stay relevant. We use the postcard tool. I mean, after every service, we have an automated postcard that just goes out. It's a referral postcard. Refer us, and you get this, and they get that. And and some of our customers really get them multiple times, but whatever.
When I hear that too, Shaunna, is you are doing little things that you can control that don't cost you a whole lot, right? That's the beauty of it. There's so much you can do as a pro. And again, I hear a lot of this in the meetups, is that I can go spend a bunch of money that's unknown, or I can make a call to every one of my customers and let them know I'm here and I care about them and what can I do for them. I can send out an email. I can do little things on social media or building groups, giving relationships. I can start to do, build relationships in pro-to-pro networks, right? All those are little things that you can control and improve the value of your business. And even the customer that may not buy from you today, they'll be aware of you and they may buy from you tomorrow. They may talk about you at church. They may talk about you, with their neighbor and so on. Like, it's those little investments that can add up to a huge gain as well. And it sounds like both of you all have done that too, which is great to hear.
The thing that stuck out to me first, Shaunna, it may have been the one from last Monday with Krista that I sent you. Her challenge was to go on social media and post a behind the scenes. I want to leave you guys with that challenge from me tonight. I said Shaunna's really good at posting on her business Facebook page. She got a share. She has people commenting on it. Consistency is key there. So today, do it behind the scenes. What does closing time look like? That's what Krista was saying. And now more than ever, your customers want to see that. That humanizes you. That's the difference between you and a roto-rooter, So that is my biggest takeaway there. Being more experimental with your marketing there's no better time than right now to do that. And there's no better group to ask for feedback from than your group of pros.
Yeah, one other thing I just want to throw out, we've started a YouTube page. We only have one video so far, but our idea is to have this YouTube page where and we call it, it's called AirTech's University. And so it's got like the banners and stuff for university banners. And so they're coming to learn. Yeah, I'll have to send you the video. And so we're wanting to educate our customers. And because people are at home right now, it's ideal. Like, they watch videos, be educated on what you do. People, we don't know what our customers don't know. And
that's assume it's a lot. In most cases, they just don't know much. They know the relationship, but they don't always know it goes on colder when it's supposed to, hotter it comes on when it's supposed to, or it doesn't. It's a binary thing, right? Well, at least for most people. Maybe I'm just being myself, talking about myself.
Right.
Alexa, you want to have Q&A? What do you want to do next?
So, my last question for you guys here. What does the next 30 days look like for you? Brooks is a huge fan of the 90-day playbook, so I actually want Brooks to share a bit on that after we hear from you guys. What does the next month look like, and what does 90 days out from here look like? Mike, it sounds like you have big plans, and plans that I'm very excited to be along for the ride for. So walk us through, what's your 30, 60, 90?
Okay, I've been in the process of working with two guys to come in, and they're going to be my sales force. So they're going to be pushing my window products. They're going to be pushing awnings. They're going to be pushing the solar shades and screens and that kind of stuff. So that's why I pulled the trigger on the marketing, because I need to generate the leads quickly to be able to make sure I support those guys in their sales calls. I'm part of another group that does windows, and I've learned a lot from them, specifically window. We've always done installs, but this marketing of windows and retractable awnings is kind of its own animal. It's different. There's certain things that are in play. We in the group, I talked to them about what I called transparent pricing, which is something I learned from you guys, which really helped my handyman business, because it's posted, it's there, they know it, it's working great. But in this window world, I brought it up and I talked to 68 different people in this group. we do a weekly meeting, and none of them practice it. I'm like, man, it works so well, you know. And so I'm going to do it their way, because we've done some online training and stuff, and I got another training class Thursday and Friday with the two guys, and they're going to complete up their training, so they'll be ready for the calls. June 1, my marketing starts, the newspaper ads, and based on what the other groups are doing with this program of marketing, you know, they're saying they're getting anywhere from a good 20 to 25 leads. You know, and that's not the print advertising. That's a different animal, because you pay a percentage. I'm paying 10% of the sale for that. The other marketing is going to generate that. So that's why I'm spending the money, is to get that, bring these sales guys on staff. Now I don't have to go out and sell anymore. I'm still I have an estimator that goes out and figures everything, but we have really switched to, what is it? Virtual estimating.
Estimates. Yeah, there you go.
That's the ticket. I've been doing them. Customers love them. They take part. I've only had one flop, and I think the customer was a flop, but I won't say that. Customers always right. But everybody else has been loving it. They love the interaction, the measuring. They measure. They, you know, whatever. They'll go out on their patio, and the husband's holding the camera, and she's measuring, or vice versa. Great interaction. Great interaction. And it's just really, you know, and then I get to charge that premium price, because they feel part of the family when it's all said and done, you know. So virtual estimates are here to stay. This marketing thing, getting these sales guys in place with the leads generated, higher margin items. You know, I've got the staff that does my other stuff that can install. I just need the staff that now can sell, the leads generation that goes with it. So I'm pumped about the future. You know, I really think that, you know, forget COVID. COVID's got nothing to do with life no more. I'm ready to move.
Good for you. It's a great attitude to have. How about you, Shaunna?
Yeah, so we're kind of in a similar place. We're really looking at our budget. We're looking at the last 2 years and kind of saying, I mean, we don't know what the future is going to bring, so we're just going to base it on the last couple of years. We're growing. We've really got to get, so Josh, who popped in, we're the owners, and he's still out in the field a lot. So we're really trying to get him out of the field as much and focused on what he does well. He's a great salesman. We really enjoyed watching, is it Victor that was on a few? So I went back and watched that, had him watch that. And so we were pulling some tidbits from that, the sales, how important that is, and not saying estimates and quotes. We always say options. That was like the nugget I took. So we only say options now. But yeah, we're looking at adding another truck for us. We haven't done the virtual estimates, and we just, not that we're against them, we just like the meeting people. In West Texas, I don't know, it's just that good old boy. I don't know how it is in Louisiana. It's probably a little different, but people still want to, we try to just fist bumps with our gloves, but people still want to shake hands. It's interesting. Some people are like this, but most people are still wanting to get close. They want to meet you. They want that relationship. So we just don't have the time, honestly, because you have to have allotted specific time to do those. And so I think that's something we should try, as the virtual.
You get your husband out of the field and get him into a sales role in the office doing virtual estimates. Think about the audience out there. It's kind of like online booking, right? Yeah. There's an audience out there that you'll still get a chance to go see, but it's a sale funnel that works for a certain kind of customer. So, you know, maybe something for him to do if you get him to hang his boots up and sit in the office with you.
That's right. Well, and he was kind of a little slow about the online booking, but now that we've implemented it, he's like, oh, this is great. Because of the relationship is so important for us, he thought it was going to cause a disconnect in the relationship that we would develop with our customers. And so I think, we've got to get him out of the field and get more guys. And again, we have to fill that funnel with more leads. And so we've been talking about some more dollars being spent on some television ads. Everybody's at home right now. The numbers are just ridiculous for TV watching right now. So we're thinking, and then people aren't going to be traveling like they normally do during the summer. We'll be working at home and not traveling as much. So I think TV could be, we really, based on the numbers, that could be a really good option for a lot of you pros right now. So that's what we're kind of looking at. You know, we as HVAC and being in Texas, we're about to hit our busiest time of the year from May through September. So it's all hands on deck, you know, pull up your bootstraps. Here we go for the next 4 months. I mean, and we just adjust as we're going through the changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good plan. Go ahead, Alexa, sorry.
Offering the option to have a virtual estimate, because I know for me, I definitely, you can tell I'm a talker. I love meeting people. I'm a hugger. Like, this is the worst possible situation for someone like me to be in, especially as a consumer, because I base so much of the experience I get from that pro off of the face-to-face interaction I have. But these are different times we're living in. So at least offering and say, hey, we still do these in-person ones, but you know what? We added this service on for you to make you feel comfortable. It's all about the customer. So I guarantee you're going to have some people take you up on those virtual estimates, and you may even get more estimates booked by being one of the only people in your area to offer them. It's still like a very new thing. It hasn't been that adopted yet.
Yeah, I think it could save so much time. Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
yes, you know, rolling a truck on. Look, you still, once you get the job, you can go see the customer. You're going to go do the work, right? You still get a chance to create that relationship with them. But here's a chance to fill your funnel up really efficiently as a new tactic. I think like anything else, just experiment with it. Try it for, you know, 1 or 2 hours a day, and have your husband stay out the field and in the seat and have him do that job. I have a customer at pro that I get to work with out in Eastern Texas, not quite your far west. And her dad used to be out there in the field all the time, and now he's in the office doing virtual estimates, and they're doing a phenomenal business on it. It's a whole new customer that's less price sensitive as well. They want the convenience. They want to feel safe and secure, particularly in these crazy times. And there you go. You got a whole new customer that you may have a, again, long-term relationship with.
Yeah. Iram from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, she was the one that was saying how great, and that's been great for them because the logistics there is crazy. Just the driving and the traffic and all of that. I bet it's been amazing for them, truly.
Here's a big bonus is you qualify the customer. I'm giving them a real close estimate. I haven't spent but 30 minutes with them. Whereas before it might be an hour driving, an hour back, you know, and I wasted my time because I didn't qualify them, you know. So I'm quick to say, okay, this is what you want to do. See, just to let you know, we're probably going to be in this ballpark. Boom. We can close the door or we can move on to the next step. So pre-qualifying with virtual estimates has just been great.
I think one other little nugget I heard there, Shaunna, which I was really impressed by, is this idea that you're thinking about TV. You have a captive audience, people at home, they got nothing to do but watch things. And you know, I think I alluded to this in the 90-day playbook is you can plant seeds that you'll harvest in the future, right? So you may not, again, that customer that sees your ad or hears from you in some other way, they may not be a buyer today, but they've gained awareness about you and your reputation and what you're offering in a world that they can say, hey, there's safety, there's security, and trust there. It's a great family business. When that need comes up, I know who to call in the future, right? So it might be a great time at low cost, high attention, to experiment your way into a new way of sewing future customers into the funnel, so to speak. So good for you guys. I just heard so many great ideas for you all tonight.
Brooks and I could probably sit here all night and talk to you guys and ask you questions. I will say one more thing about TV before we get into our last question, which Brooks, I will have you ask our challenger. But we had Elena Ludeau on, and she, with Brandon Vaughn, still to this day, we've interviewed so many people. The interview with her is probably one of my top 5 favorite ones. Television is key right now, but you don't actually have to pay to be on it. Think about how this ties back to your community. What can you be doing right now that is going to stick out that you can get free PR for? You can just call around, post it on Facebook. She said it's probably more now, but at least during the time of COVID, and we interviewed her maybe a month ago, a little bit longer than that. She's been on the TV 2-3 times on her local news channel. This isn't something you have to pay for. Just think outside of the box, because if you're doing stuff in your community, and it's even better if it comes from the good of your heart wanting to give back, you'll be rewarded for that. That's the things that people want to see on the news right now. They don't want to be seeing the death rates. They don't want to be seeing how all the cities are locked down. They want to see how people are making the most of it and giving back to their community. And you're there wearing your Air Tex, eating in air, you're wearing your M&M Services shirt. That's how people find out about you.
Hallelujah. Hey, all right, so here's the wrap up, right, Alexi? You want to do the one thing? Okay, so when I used to go to the mastermind events back in the day, I'd always end my presentation with the idea of, look, what's the one thing? I don't want you to think about 10 things. I don't want it to be 20 things. What is one thing that you're going to do tomorrow morning that's going to be better? So I'd love to hear from you, Mike, and then Shaunna, you to close out. What is the one thing you recommend to the audience that they should do tomorrow morning? Mike, you want to go first?
I'm just going to...
Oh, you got to turn off your...
Wait, Mike.
Hold on there, Mike. Hold on.
Mike, unmute.
Okay. The one thing.
All right.
The one
patience killing me. What's the one thing?
The one is, Shaunna's going to be mad. Find that thing that you can do, like putting an air conditioner in somebody's house and making them cool, while you figure out what to do with the problem. That's going to be tomorrow's chore for me, is I'm going to stop and think what one thing I can do for the customer to fix the problem before I fix the problem. So that is an awesome nugget. Like I said, she's the real deal. I'm just a poser.
Don't say that about my...
That's exciting, though. I'm glad. That's exciting.
I love that you took that into stride, too. Think about people are just ratcheting through their head tonight, like, oh, what's the one thing I can do that will change my relationship with the customer that's super innovative? Okay, Shaunna, how about you? What is the one thing that you think the pro should be doing tomorrow morning?
Well, obviously, virtual estimates. I think what the point of, I guess, the nugget out of that is go try something that you're not doing. Like if you heard something today that you're not doing, go try it. So that's what I've been doing all along. Yeah, is listening to these or participating in territory meetups or whatever, and then taking little nuggets from each of those from the sidelines, like we say. I mean, we're not in competition here. We're all here to help each other, and so. I'm humble. I don't know it all by any means. Let's not recreate the wheel. Let's try what other people are doing that's successful, and go from there. Just try it. And I think that it sounds like when you do a virtual estimate, people are probably kind of laughing along with you. Like, I've not done one of these before. You're my first one, but let's do this. And then you develop that relationship. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just want to thank the both of you for deciding to come on here with Brooks and I tonight. We've been interviewing like these rock star guests, but to us, like, you guys are the ultimate rock stars. Like, you are better than Mark Cuban. There, I said it. I said it. I just think you guys are out there doing the work. Like, there's no better education or knowledge sharing than you guys sitting here and saying what's working and what's not. So we really do appreciate that.
Totally. So generous. You guys both are just so generous with your enthusiasm, lifting others up by example, the innovation that you guys have been expressing before COVID-19, since then. Thank you for giving back to the rest of the pro community. We really appreciate it. We feel honored to be able to have interviewed and talk with you tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And thanks for all you do. You guys really don't understand. I mean, I can only imagine every night of doing this for 8 weeks straight. Holy moly.
It is amazing.
It is truly amazing. And just the nuggets that we catch, like I said, I can't watch them all the time, but when I do, even if I get a portion of one, I'm always pulling something from it.
Yeah. You know what, Shaunna? Alexa and Mel and Roland sorry, go ahead, Mike.
If you watch that podcast that JC did back in the walls, you'll see how I feel about HCP and the things it's done for us in our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, my note on that was just that Alexa has done an unbelievable job organizing this whole effort and being our host, and her enthusiasm energy is off the charts. And amazing love for the pros and care for the pros. Mel, Roland, the dedication. But there are 22 other people that are focused on developing this broadcast every night, that are working out there behind the scenes all day, every day, and not with any intention that we'll ever make money on it, because it's the right thing to do. And again, I think in the legacy, or maybe even the legend of our company, we'll look back and be most proud of the work we've done in public service to you all. So thank you for returning some of that back to us and not enjoying us. It's been an amazing session.
Now that
thank you.
This is Housecall's version of AirTex's portable air conditioning. This is our.
There you go.
Yeah. You guys are giving back. It's awesome.
Well, have a great rest of your night with your families. I hope you learned a lot tonight. I sure did. We will see you back here tomorrow. Brooks and I will be interviewing Jack Carr. He's
right on.
New York Times bestselling author, ex-Navy SEAL. So it's going to be a good one. We have a great lineup for the rest of the week too. So we'll see you back here tomorrow. Awesome. Mike, Shaunna, thank you. Can't say it enough.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Have a great
week.
Take care.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.